Now let's look at the last scanning mode, which is the smart mode. Once we've placed the scanner in a space that's relatively uncluttered, because in complex spaces, the smart scan will take longer than auto. Here's how it works. It makes a first pass with a very coarse step in order to locate the walls. Then, having recognized where the corners are, it makes a second pass with a finer step to pinpoint the corners accurately, and finally, on the third pass, it identifies the boundaries. That is, the trickiest points, where the wall sits at an angle to the laser beam or where there's a discontinuity. Successive measurements that differ greatly from one another are treated as a discontinuity. There it will capture at maximum resolution. To start the Smart Scan, we simply press the Smart button. Here we're shown the parameters for the 3 passes I mentioned. So in our case, the first pass with a step of 20, the second with a step of 4, the third pass with a step of 1. We start the scan and the laser gets to work. Of course, here too in the app, we can see what the scanner is doing. This way we see every point it scans. Right now it's following a fairly straight wall, so it moves along quite evenly. And at the same time, the app is already recognizing the wall. We can tell from the red dot and the red line it draws. As soon as it finishes the pass, it has located certain regions where it believes there are corners. Meanwhile, it carries on, working through the regions it considers a bit more difficult. And indeed, right in this region, it found that there are corners. It detected them, so it densified the scan at that spot. I can also decide to skip a region. Here, for example, the window region, we skip it because there's no point capturing the glass. Here it found this pillar, so it increases the detail at this spot. There's another step there, so the detail increased, and so on. Now it is finished, and if it thinks there's a point with some discontinuity, it will return to those spots. So as to take a few more measurements at maximum resolution, there you go. It identified the regions where it thinks it needs to improve the capture quality. And gradually it scans only those points. For example, these are regions of the balcony where it found a curtain, the pillar in there, the window opening. Now, as I was saying, the glass region doesn't interest us, so we skip it. We can skip these regions. And so, on its own, it produced as detailed a capture as it possibly could. Of course, in this region that was obscured, it couldn't see behind the pillar. So in that case, we could continue the capture by moving the scanner's position and linking a new scan. But everywhere else where it could, where it was needed, it densified the points, while where it was less necessary, it made them sparser. And in this case of the window, even though we skipped it, it managed to capture even the lowered shutter. There you go, behind the glass. That way it managed to do the best it could with relatively fewer points, even though the shape of this space was somewhat intricate.